Hey, I'm Stone Cold Steve Austin. Welcome to the Broken Skull Sessions. My guest today is one of the most successful and popular WWE superstars of all time, and she's just hitting her prime years. My guest today is the man, Becky Lynch. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
What'd you think about the intro? One of the most successful, popular WWE superstars of all time, and you're just hitting your prime.
Got me hyped. Got me hyped. I like to know that I haven't passed my prime yet.
Oh no!
I feel like I'm only hitting it
Do you
now.
feel
like
good?
I'm hitting my stride. Yeah. I'm having more fun now than I ever have.
Why is that?
I think that it's many reasons. I think I'm healed. And I think
You got
I'm
that
having
freedom.
more. I have more freedom, and I'm having fun with that. I think I'm a little bit more confident, and also one thing, and I think it's the biggest thing, is it's not everything in my life right now. So wrestling used to be everything in my life. That if anything went wrong, I would just focus and dwell on it until my head would explode, and it would just become this constant anxiety. And now I don't have time to do that. I've got something more important. I have to. Once I'm done, I have to go back and be a mom, and I can think about it for a while when she's gone to bed. But I have to ultimately concentrate on something else right now.
And a while back last year, I had Seth on the show, and I asked him. I said, "Hey, man, you're married now. You're a husband and a father, and what's it been like for you as a mother, and doing that. I mean, that's obviously is new to you. You've been married for a while now.
Yeah.
What's the transition been like, and the priorities?
Great. It's great. I mean, being married is the same as not being married, right? Like it's just you just spend a bunch of time together. We do the same things that we always did. Being a mom is great. Oh my God, it's way better than I ever thought it was going to be. Way better.
Was it scary?
Before, oh my God, I was terrified. Before I was terrified. I was like, oh my, everything's gone. My freedom, my life is over. I don't know. Am I going to be able to pick up where I went? Am I going to be able to get back in shape? Look, all of these things that you worry about. Am I going to be a good mother? Like, what if I don't bond with her? All these things. But she's the best. She's the best. I smile every day because of her. And we take her on the road everywhere with us. And so, yeah, I don't mean sleep, but I just drink more coffee. And yeah, I've just got the best of both worlds now. And it makes everything better.
So was being a mom natural for you?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, were
think
you
so.
reading books or are you doing research? Because it seemed like when we grew up, I mean, just ran out and did stupid stuff and got beat up or had accidents, and you went home and got patched up and you went back out and did it. But all of a sudden, when you're raising a kid, like when I was raising my daughters, when I was home, you've done better than I did. But it's kind of like you're careful.
Yeah. I mean, God, I had loads of books. Did I read any of them? No. And would it have mattered? No, I don't think so. Because I think if you get in your head that things need to be done a certain way, then you're already, I don't know, you're not listening to your instincts. I think we have instincts on how to raise kids. We've been raising them since the dawn of time. That's what happened. And so most of it's just common sense. And then, I can be a little bit helicoptery and just making sure that she doesn't fall down.
Right.
So, but if they fall down, they get up and they're fine, Here she is.
What a shot that is. Is this on the road?
No, that's in the gym, actually. Yeah, that was in the gym. She was getting tired, so I had to stop mid-workout to put her to sleep.
Does she sleep through the night?
No. Absolutely not. No. We're always bringing her different places, so she doesn't have any routine.
Where y'all spending more time, in LA, in Iowa, or on the road?
On the road. Absolutely more time on the road. Her main place is we have a bus. Thankfully, we're very lucky.
When did y'all do the bus?
The end of 2019.
Okay, so that
Lifesaver. And so and because of the rumbling on the bus, she'll actually sleep better there. So I get more hours, and then I just bed with me.
So she does get on the road?
Oh yeah. She does great on the road. The only problem is when we're flying different places, normally you sleep on the planes, you catch up on your sleep. So I don't, if she's awake, then I'm awake. But she's great. Oh, she's great.
Let's get into wrestling.
Yep.
Let's go to day one.
Day one.
Big pay-per-view.
Big pay-per-view.
Not too long ago. Well, as this shows, it'll be a little bit longer. But you're out there with Liv Morgan, hell of a match.
Thank you.
What's the state of the union right now? What's going on with Becky Lynch? It's big time Bex now.
Big time Bex.
You're on a roll. I thought a hell of a match. She really did well, and I thought this really elevated her position on the card and the roster, just her as a sports entertainer.
Yeah, and she's somebody who works her ass off, and that we need that. We need women that are coming up that can hang in the main event picture. Because I've said before, I can't do this by myself. So you need people that are hungry and coming up, and Liv is one of those people that I really think is going to be. She's going to be she's already up there, but she's going to be way up there in the future.
You've had a hell of a run, and you're continuing to do so. I mean, you've paid your dues for a long time. You've been in the grind. And the way you see things when you break into the business are obviously a lot different than you see things now due to your experience and time spent and the learnings. So with the experience that you have, what has changed with respect to the way you view the business today and, apply it?
God, that's an interesting question. But also, because from when I started in the business, we're talking 2002. So coming up on 20 years, which is insane. But also I took a big 7-year gap. But the wrestling business has changed so much. But I think when I first started wrestling, I was 15 years old. So you have to take that into account, But everything it was all about moves, and I just cared about doing the moves. And then when I started learning about wrestling, I loved chain wrestling, the old catch as catch can. And I thought that was interesting. But if you're a fan nowadays, you don't want to sit through frickin' 20 minutes of wrist locks,
Right.
Especially if they're not done well. And so I think the biggest change in my own mindset is really just making sure that story is prioritized over everything, as opposed to moves and spots and everything. It's, well, what's the story of the match? What's the story of why do I hate this character? And so I think that's one of those things when you first start wrestling, you just think about moves. You're just trying to put one foot in front of the other.
What about the business aspect of it as a person with leverage? Because you are a commodity, one of the hottest superstars that there is going for quite some time in the present. So, but with leverage and with the ability and power, but in doing it with the company, to express yourself and say, hey, I'm kind of feeling this. Whereas you're looking for opportunity in the beginning, and you get that opportunity and you parlay that into success, and now you can kind of control a little bit. How do you work within those parameters? Because you have to.
Delicately. Yeah. Yeah.
Spot on.
Yeah. And so I think that's the thing is you can't go in and be like, well, this is awful. This is terrible. So by the way, I do that to the right people. And so I might get a creative text on a Sunday night. What the? Throw the phone across the room. But then when you go in, it's like, well, perhaps this would be better if it's done like this. And then so you have to, sometimes you walk that fine line of how do I make this better? Or sometimes you can change it completely. So it's knowing what day and what battles to fight. What's the hill to die on? Is this the hill to die on? Okay, no. Is it going to make a difference in 2 weeks from now? Okay, no. All right, well, then we'll just find a way to make this better. And then you got to go and you have the talks and do the rounds.
Do the rounds, and sometimes it's like, taking a bit of their idea and your idea, but making them think part of your idea was actually their idea. So that, hey, this is the way we ought to do things. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
It's the Jedi mind trick.
Yes.
It's the reverse Vince.
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, but then sometimes he's very set on his ways. Very set on his ways. So you got to go, okay, well, how do I make this make sense for me? How do I make his vision come to life and also be something that I believe in too?
And to your point, that's the hill that you don't die on, because he's going to stand there and he's going to guard that. So go with the flow, try to make the best you can.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Let's go back in the day, 2002, when you decided to enter the sports entertainment industry at 15 years of age. What prompted that?
I was drinking a lot. And
Perfect requisite for a pro wrestling career.
and I knew I shouldn't be, and I was just going down a just going down a bad road, and I knew I needed to get my life together. I knew that I needed I couldn't keep doing this. I was doing we had this thing in Ireland called the junior cert. And, at the time they make it seem like the rest of your life is going to depend on it. Of course, they're little exams that won't matter in a year from now. But, I was supposed to be studying for my junior cert, and I remember going, God, I'd love a beer. And I was like, no, this is, obviously my mom had no idea that these were the kind of things that I was doing, but I needed to change the way that I was doing things. And so I was like, let me get in shape. And at the time I'd failed PE, and I think you passed PE by just showing up, and I showed up. But anyway, so I was going to do a kickboxing class because I'm an alternative kid. I didn't want to just go to a gym.
Yeah.
And gyms weren't even that big in Ireland. There was a couple around, but people didn't go to gyms. And so then I discovered that Finn Balor, or Fergal Devitt, was opening a school about an hour and a half away from me. And that was it. And then I started. And we didn't even have a wrestling ring at the time. There were 6 blue mats. And at the time, Tough Enough was huge, and I was a big Tough Enough fan. And so I was expecting to go into a warehouse, see NWA Ireland, which is what it was called, on the roof, and there'd be big muscle-bound lads and women, and I walk in and there's nothing but like skinny teenagers trying to grow out their hair to look like the Hardy Boys. And I was one of those skinny teenagers in there with long red hair trying to look like Lita with my baggy pants.
So, were you watching the business back in the day?
Oh, yeah.
So, what was going on when you were a kid?
Around that time.
Look at this young
There
guy.
I am.
There you are.
There I am. I was 18.
Good-looking young prospect here.
Look at that hair.
Who would have known by looking at that picture? That's a great picture, but this is going to be the hottest female in the industry and amongst the top stars in the industry.
Absolutely nobody. Like, look at what I'm wearing. I had no money at the time, obviously. I was 18, didn't have a job. Wrestling was my job at this time. I'd moved over. That was taken in Boston, I believe.
Wow, good
I'd
memory.
moved over to Canada when I was 18. And I'd met this wrestler at a show in Ireland called Scotty Mack. And he said that the Canadian scene was booming. So I showed up on a whim in Vancouver, and I had a cousin who lived on Vancouver Island. And so that's why I showed up there. And so then anyway, I ended up wrestling around there. And then Fergal at the time was in Boston. He moved over to Boston. So I went down to Boston to see him, and this is at a show there. Yeah, I had no money to pay for ring gear. So I just went to a shop and got that was a skirt with shorts. And I was like, well, this is a cool, fun look. And they were long, like I thought they could look like wrestling boots. And anyway.
Looking back at those early days back in the day, I never asked money questions, but I think it's fair to ask them now. I was making $10 and $20 a night when I first started. So where you were making your rounds through your European scene to Canada or there to Boston, what kind of money were you pulling down on a per night basis?
So my first overseas gig where I got paid, I was in France, and I got paid €50. And oh my God.
At the big time?
Minted. Balling. Like, I was rolling in it. I could not believe it. I couldn't believe I had made €50 from wrestling. Obviously, I'd paid to wrestle. I'd paid for my classes. Every time I'd go, I'd wrestle. I'd wrestle for free places, just for the experience. And I'd gotten paid. I couldn't believe it. Oh my God, so much money. And then when I went over to Canada, I made $30. And then by the next time I wrestled for the same company, I made $50. And yeah, just anything I'd get paid. I couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it. It was free money. Still can't believe it.
How quickly did you acclimate to the physicality of the ring and then putting the psychology together?
I was awful. Oh my
Come on.
God, was I awful. God, was I awful. I was so bad. Couldn't put one foot in front of the other. I failed PE, like unathletic as can be. But I had watched Tough Enough, right? And so I keep coming back to Tough Enough. And when I'd watch Tough Enough, I would see these people, and I would be like, "This is your dream. What are you doing? Get up, get off the mat, do it again." Doing all my armchair coaching. And so with that, I knew that, well, I wasn't going to give up. And so I could withstand the pain. So it didn't matter how much things hurt or how bad I was. I just wanted to constantly get better. And luckily, my brother started at the same time, and he was awesome. He was really good. He was really good athletically and he was really good with the psychology. So he helped me a lot. Like we would practice stuff in my back garden so that I could get better. And any chance I got, I would go over to the UK because they would do week-long summer camps and I would do that, or they would do 3-day special camps where you'd just be wrestling all day long. And so as much as I could, I would just, live wrestling, consume it, consume it, consume it. And then I took 7 years off.
Well, we'll get to that
Okay.
real quick because, I mean, but you're paying some heavy dues. I mean, you're hustling. You're out there putting yourself out there and trying to learn.
Yeah.
And then you have an accident in Germany. And was it the injury? It was a head injury. It was
Yeah.
almost like a belly to back suplex.
So
Was it?
I suplexed her
You
onto my
yeah,
head.
onto your head.
Yeah, yeah.
But when you watch the footage of it, it said, that's interesting. And then you were back home, and then your mother says she noticed you got the cap on. And she says, oh, no. So did the injury put you out, or did your mother say, hey, maybe you should stop?
So what happened was, God, it was a crazy time.
I know you were concussed.
You concussed out of my mind. And one of the things is funny that when I got that injury, just to go back, they started chanting women's wrestling, right? And I was wrestling with this girl who, God bless her, she wasn't very good. And I'd made the match way too complicated because I'd been in Japan then, you know? I'd been in Japan, so I needed to do my Japanese stuff.
Of course.
And so again, when I talk about making a story, I was working for the spots, working for the moves, and not caring about the story, keeping it simple. Let's make the best match possible. And they started chanting women's wrestling because it was all going to hell. And what a difference that is from now when they chant women's wrestling. This is great. But then they were saying, this is freaking awful. So I grabbed her and I suplexed her and she held on and landed on my head. Anyway, at the time, I was so hung up on making it. I was 19 at the time. I needed to make it before I was too old. I was 19. And I thought once I hit 20, that's it. I'm going to be old news, And I'd also promised my mom that I would go back to college the following year, because I moved to Canada when I was 18, dropped out of college to move off to Canada. But I said I'd only be gone for a year and then I'd go back to college. And at the time I wasn't getting signed anywhere. And I started to look at things and go, well, I need to look a certain way. I need to look like a bodybuilder and whatever. So we started training for a bodybuilding competition. And with that, then, my focus shifted. And so I wasn't caring as much about the wrestling. I was caring more about how it looked. And with that, I was then dieting too hard and got some eating disorders and hormones were going all over the place. And I got very depressed. And then I got hurt. And then I was just lost. I was lost and confused. I was 19. I had nobody to guide me. And I was going over to Orlando because, again, I was trying to say, look, I have a plan in place to my mom, who was very worried about her 19-year-old daughter who was all over the world wrestling. And so I signed up for this personal training course. But I'd gotten hurt the week before I was going to go over. And then when I got over to Orlando, I was planning to do different shows and stuff. And I got to the airport and I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this life anymore. I don't know what I'm doing. I can't see a vision for the future. And I felt very lost. And I called my mom and I said, please, can I come home? She said, no. She said, no, you've given up on everything. You're all over the place. You have to see this through. And I was in tears in the airport and went over to Orlando, and then I couldn't face anything. I had no idea what I wanted to do, and I just said I got this head injury and I'm out, because I couldn't face saying, look, I don't know if I can do this anymore. Couldn't face up to that. I couldn't face up to letting people down, for giving up. I couldn't admit that I was depressed, that I was lost, and so I stepped away. And then I didn't know how to get back for many, many years. And it ate up at me for
Was it eating up at you all that time?
Oh,
I mean, you were
my-
gone for 7 years.
that whole
Some
time.
flight attendant, other stuff.
And so I would keep trying things. And I tried so many things. I was personal trainer. Then I was a flight attendant. Was a personal trainer while I was a flight attendant. Did teaching English as a foreign language courses, did scuba diving courses, did cooking course, did everything that I could possibly think of. And then I went back to college and I studied acting. And I loved that. I absolutely loved that. But there was always just this this voice in the back of my head and my gut just saying, you know, you have more to offer. Like, what if, what if, what if, what if, what if, what if, what if? And there's a Pearl Jam song, life would be different if I held on. You know, I know that life would be different if I held on. I used to always listen to that song and it used to eat at me, gnaw away at me. And I remember I was 25, Fergal, Finn, was in New Japan doing really well for himself. And you know, there was so much happiness for him because of how hard he worked. But so much jealousy too, like a little bits, you know, like, well, what would my life have been like if I had have held on, you know, and I'm doing all these wild things. And I sat down with him and I'm like, you know, I just wonder, like, should I go back? He's like, well, go back now because I'm not sitting here with you another 10 years. It would have been too late. This year would have been 10 years ago from when he said that to me.
Wow.
And so I thought about it, but then, you know, I had to finish my college course. And then I ended up doing stunts on the Vikings and thought, well, I don't know what I'm doing. I kind of blagged my way onto the set. And so I went down to a wrestling class, and it was the trainer of that, Joe Cabray, who had just gotten signed by WWE, who said, would you go for a tryout? Because I think you get it. And like everything just felt like it was falling into place. Like, oh yeah, this is what my life has been missing. The rest is history. Not really the rest is history, because there was a lot of bumps and hurdles from there.
Yeah, but I'm paraphrasing you, but I think you've kind of said in the past, I mean, you feel like this is what you were born to do.
Yes, yeah.
So you get signed, you go into NXT. After the road that you've been down and all the turbulation, what was that like for you?
Awful. Initially, awful. Because, and so I kind of talk about how, I talk about the fact that I'm having fun now and I have less pressure on me. I had been without it for 7 years and so lost without it that when I got it back, I was like this to it. Like I can't let go. This can't slip away from me. And the vibe down there at the time was, you don't show up, you show out, right? So I was so worried. Several reasons. There was a lot of people that recognized me, Paige being one. She came up to me. I'd known her since she was 13. And she gave me a big hug. She was like, I told everybody how great you are. I was like, no, don't tell them that. Why would you? Obviously, I didn't say this to her, but I was like, no, I'm not great. I'm not great. I haven't wrestled in 7 years. And so I was worried about that pressure of people thinking that, one, I was great, and two, thinking that I thought I was great.
Oh,
two being probably the worst, because perception is reality down there, and you don't want anybody thinking that you're too big for your britches.
Yeah.
And before I went over, it was, you can't do this, you can't be that, you can't be. It was a minefield trying to navigate between what you could do, what you can't do. Women can't do this, women couldn't punch at the time. So many can'ts. And I was just, and also, I had no idea about freaking fake eyelashes, makeup. I walk in there. The first day, Joe, who got me signed, he was like, you need a nice dress. And I was like, a nice dress? Well, one, I'm poor as hell. And two, I don't know what a nice dress is. We went to Ross, dressed for less. I ended up getting like 3 freaking nice dresses, what I thought was a nice dress. They were probably old bridesmaids' dresses. They were frumpy as can be. And I show up looking like freaking, I don't know, just something that came out of a swamp. My hair is all frizzy because of the Florida humidity.
Yeah.
And then you've got all these girls, the most beautiful women I've ever seen in my entire life, just showing up looking like $1 million, and they were all athletes. And I was like, well, I am out of my depth here. And so, yeah, it was crazy just even walking into the place on the first day. And then Sarah Del Rey was my coach, and I'd wrestled with her in Japan when I was 18. And again, I didn't want her thinking that I was too big for my britches. And I was not too big for my britches. I was very humble, but almost too humble to the fact where I was scared to do anything. I was scared to do anything, and I was awful.
Well, that leads me to my next question, because you know, the women's division at NXT really was a look into the future of sports entertainment. You had yourself, Charlotte, Sasha, Bayley, pretty much a Shark Tank. And so with what you just said, how would you assess where you were at the time?
So actually, I will say all three of them were lovely to me when I arrived. There was a couple of bad eggs that were not so nice to me, but they were lovely. And so I think I had a decent grasp on my knowledge of the business. Obviously, I'd been around it for a long time.
Yeah, and the European circuit, Canadian, and in Japan.
And
So, I
Japan.
mean, pretty well traveled.
Yeah, it was well traveled, but my athleticism I was back to where I was when I was 15. I was beyond mind, for lack of a better term. And all these girls, these newcomers that had never stepped foot in a ring, were surpassing me, getting on shows before me and getting into advanced classes, and kept being put in beginners classes. And another thing was you had to have wrestling boots. And I didn't have any wrestling boots. I'd always wrestled in what you saw me wrestling in earlier, and I had boxing boots or whatever, and you had to get wrestling boots, and I was poor as anything. And so somebody gave me the website, and I got ordered these wrestling boots that were like 4 sizes too big for me. So not only could I not put one foot in the other, but I was tripping over these clown shoes anytime I tried to do anything. And so I was just awful. I was awful, awful, awful. But I went to Bill DeMott at the time, who was the head coach, and I was like, look, I know I'm not great. I know, but I know I have a connection with the audience. I know once you put me out there, I'm able to connect with them. I promise you, just give me a chance. And I'm sure I was on the chopping block every day of my life when I was there. But he did, sure enough, he did. And I did. I was able to get the audience to feel something.
Yeah, but even when I go back to, watch some old footage of you on YouTube from before you got to NXT, I mean, you really put yourself out there.
Love the Band-Aid on the elbow.
You can't be shy at all, because, I mean, some of your interests, the way you're working that crowd, giving out hugs, high-fiving, and river dancing, all the stuff. I mean, you really put yourself out there. And if you go back and watch interviews of some of your peers who all love you, saying they all knew Becky Lynch was going to be a star. They've all said that. So they thought very highly of you. Did you not see that coming?
Oh, I think
Riverdance.
There it is. Jesus. God, if you can go from that to main event of WrestleMania, anything is possible.
Big time backs, man. From that, yeah.
So I like people, and I like to perform, and I just think that when you go out there and you give energy, people give energy back to you. It's an energetic exchange.
Agreed.
Something.
It's a feel.
Yeah, it's just a feel, and people can feel that. And I think that you don't have to be the cleanest, you don't have to be the best, you don't have to be the most athletic. If you have that connection, that intangible thing, and I think, thank God I had that thing. Otherwise, it would be gone.
But with the other 3 women of the 4 horsewomen, there was 4 of you, but did you feel like you were somewhat of an afterthought?
Oh yeah, for sure. And I was in the right place at the right time. But again, I did have that intangible. So hands down, I would say I'm not the most athletic. I'm certainly not the most athletic of them, and not always the cleanest of an athlete. But I also have something else to give. And I think instead of always concentrating on that, I focused on the things that I was good at, and that's telling the story, and that's making people feel something. And I know when I'm in that ring, I have an intensity and I have different levels that maybe not everybody has. And when it comes to talking,
how would you explain connecting with the crowd?
How do you mean?
Doing something to elicit a response or move emotions, for them to become invested in you, like I did. As Stone Cold, you've done. But since you said the way you connect with people, how do you define that?
I think it's being genuine. I think it's being genuine. I think when you feel something, they feel something. And somebody said to me a long time ago, if you don't believe in yourself, they won't either.
100%.
And I think that's the thing, is really believing in whatever it is that you're saying. And I think that becomes easy when you're able to go out there and tell the truth. And whatever it is you're feeling, to be able to project that.
So you start getting entrenched, things evolve, and we're going to go to a triple threat match at WrestleMania 32 against Charlotte and Sasha Banks. And the setup is AT&T Stadium. There's 100,000 people in attendance.
Wow. Yeah, that was still one of probably my favorite memories. just how big that felt. My first WrestleMania, and I wasn't meant to be in that match. It was supposed to just be Sasha and Charlotte, and I think I'd started to do so well. It's so weird how things happen, right? Like all the biggest opportunities in my life have come because I think myself and Charlotte went into that storyline because I think some other women got injured. So what happened was, oh my gosh, it's so hard to articulate, but we're going back. And there was supposed to be a segment where there was a bunch of women, like 10 women all coming out. And I think Summer Rae was supposed to say something to me, and I was just supposed to walk to the back, and that was it, and that was going to be my story. But instead, I think some women got hurt, and it ended up being Charlotte and me in a 2-segment match where then we were best friends, and then that broke up. And that story did really well, and people were really behind it. And then it ended up being me and Charlotte at Royal Rumble, and then Sasha came. And I think I was supposed to get out of the picture, but I think I had done so well at that time as a babyface that they realized, well, these 3 women all came up at the same time. Let's put them in a triple threat match. And this was the culmination of that whole story.
Did you feel like you were overlooked in that match?
In this match?
Yes. Or on the backside of this?
On the backside of it,
Yeah.
absolutely, yes. That's when everything went. But at the time, no.
Right.
I was so happy to be having my WrestleMania match. And, at the time, Charlotte was my best friend. And to be able to put her over in front of 100,000 people, I was happy to do it.
But on the backside of it?
On the backside of it. On the backside of it, everything went to hell.
What happened?
I don't think it was anything I did. I don't think so. But I think at the time they could really only concentrate on one woman's story at a time.
Right.
And that was the women with the belt. And so they were going into this Sasha Charlotte story, and then we ended up doing the brand split, and that really helped me
So
for a time.
But you're about to have your greatest test to date, and that's going to be a 6-pack elimination challenge at Backlash to determine the first ever SmackDown Women's Champion. So let's go to the end of that match. Boot. Well, you know what? She had an opportunity to cover you. She didn't. She's going to come around and push you around with the feet a little bit. Should have took advantage of the opportunity. Hesitant, lackadaisical maybe. Should have covered you, trying to add insult to injury, a little salt in the wound.
So funny when you
There we go, and there it is. There was the lure, and then there you grab it. Got her in the disarmor. Can't hang on anymore. Tap, see you later.
Oh, God.
All right, so SmackDown Women's Champion. Okay, so
That was
winning
good.
your first world title after not being athletic, not, really learning the business that fast. And now you have the biggest company in the world making you this, you're the SmackDown Women's Champion. So what did that mean to you personally? And did you feel like, hey, now they're positioning me for really, really big things?
God, it meant the
First
world.
question, what it meant to you.
It meant the world. Oh my God, I think I said it in this promo, which I didn't know was going to happen there afterwards. But it was years, miles, just everything that, just how many times I should have been fired and I wasn't.
Fired for what?
Being awful, being goddamn awful.
Yeah.
So I think it was not for trying hard,
Yeah.
because I would work my ass off. I was at every extra ring session in the gym constantly, constantly trying to get better, constantly in the promo room. I would do everything possible not to get fired. I just athletically wasn't taken to it, and I will say it was mostly because I just was so scared of losing it that I was concentrating on it too hard, and I was, it's like you hold a flower. If you hold the flower loosely, it's nice and it blooms. If you hold it too tight, you crush it. So when they first debuted the Women's Championship, everybody in the arena started chanting Becky. When they heard everybody chanting, all the fans chanting, they're like, oh, okay, well, we gotta put it on her. And so that meant the world, because it wasn't necessarily the office saying this is our girl. It was the audience saying this is our girl.
Okay, you're here, you're the champion, but during this run, are you searching for an identity? Do you feel like you need an edge, or
Yeah, so that's one of those things, because once you reach the top, especially as a baby face, well, then where do you go? You know, we had Survivor Series coming up, and I think Charlotte was the champion on the other side, and she was automatically made the leader of that. But Nikki was the leader of ours, you know, and I was the champion. I was like, okay, well, I'm very much not. They don't think that I'm it, you know, certainly not yet. And so I was looking, but I just didn't know. I didn't know what to do, because the crowd still liked me. The crowd still loved me. And I used to always ask John Cena for advice. But I'd ask him, you know, and he's like, I don't know who you are.
Really?
Yeah, he was like, who are you? Who are you? And I was like, well, you know, I'm Becky. And well, no, but like, I'd be like, well, they know who I am. You know, obviously I wouldn't say this to him, but I'd be like, well, they know who I am. They're chanting my name. But he was right. Like, he was right. I didn't know who I was. Like, I didn't know, apart from being Becky, apart from the Irish last kicker. Well, what the hell was the Irish last kicker? Because I would always get my last kicked. So, so I didn't know. I didn't really have an identity, and I was searching for that. And I suppose I was the little scrappy underdog from Ireland, but it wasn't immediately establishable. And you know, I dressed as in the steampunk gear, but that was really just to give me a look, to stand out from the rest, to try and find an identity. But I was always just trying to find an identity.
but you're just not really grounded yet.
Not really
You're trying, you're
grounded yet.
searching, and you're having success, but it's like, okay, but
it's not clicking up.
my foundation could be more solid to make even bigger and better decisions.
Yes.
Okay, let's get into SummerSlam, the triple threat match with you, Charlotte, and Carmella. And let's go to the tape, because this is, it's all on the line for you here as a performer, and you're about to make a major shift in Becky Lynch and how the world perceives her. And we're getting somewhere. We're coming into that I know who I am thing, I think.
Yes.
Okay, we got the arm. Position. Boom, little savate kick. And down into the disarmer. Can she make it to the ropes? Will she make it to the ropes? She might just make all the fingernails on the rope. She's there. Okay, the referee makes you break the hold. Here you come up. Was that the manhandle?
No, that's just like a pump handle.
Okay,
suplex.
okay, back into disarmor. Okay, you got it right where you want her. Modified natural selection, right?
Yep.
Oh, 1, 2, 3. Charlotte Flair with the big W.
With the big double.
After you seemingly had it within grasp, and from behind. So here we have our new world champion. And she's got the gold. And the referee making sure she's got her belt. She's happy as a clam, and look at these best friends hugging her. Yeah.
Crowd booed when we did that.
Well,
Yeah, you can hear them boo,
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah. Way to go, champ, buddy. Oh! That pop. There you go. Oh. Great reaction from the crowd. Good vision there. So she goes back down and stomp her out of the ring. Good look there. Defiant. Disgusted. Well, sling her around a little bit. In the barricade. Good facial. There you go. Bam, over the top, into the corner. What were you thinking when when you took a shot at her, she goes down, that crowd erupted? What were you thinking when you're feeling that? You're like listening, like, oh,
Oh, this is cool.
yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Did you think they were going to boo you?
Not for a single freaking second. Did anybody think that? There were some people in the office that thought they were going to boo me. But there was nobody else thought that I was the heel in this thing.
Well, but I think they're feeling the same, that they had angst in the situation. I think, like, it's time for Becky to do something. Becky's got to do something, and you did, and they responded accordingly.
Yeah. So what happened at the time was I was getting momentum. I was gonna have, after not doing a lot for the last year, and then I was supposed to have my big singles match at SummerSlam, and people were really excited for it. People wanted to see me versus Carmella. They wanted to see the title back on me. And Charlotte ended up getting into the match. And at that time, Charlotte had so many opportunities. Nobody wanted to see her in there. But the company thought that she was going to be the babyface in this, and that by me turning on my friend over a championship, that I would be the bad guy. But of course, anybody who knew was like, well, you're going to be a badass who just doesn't care anymore, and you're going to come and kick the crap out of people. You're going to be like Stone Cold, you know, for lack of a better term, is what people thought, you know. And, you know, as in people inside the bubble who knew, who weren't those people that thought that people would boo me. And I think somebody came up to me that the night after and was like, well, Brooklyn's a heel crowd, so they would cheer you. But when you're going to be in Birmingham, Alabama next week, they're going to boo you. Well, we were in Birmingham, Alabama next week, and they were cheering me. So, yeah. So I think anybody who knew that this was what I wasn't going to be a heel, but it was going to take me to another level.
Right.
And it sure did.
Let's play the promo.
I deserve to be standing here as the women's champion. And since that moment was stolen from me, Charlotte Flair deserved the beating that I gave her. Because SummerSlam wasn't supposed to be about Brock Lesnar or Roman Reigns or AJ Styles or Seth Rollins or Ronda Rousey, and it certainly wasn't supposed to be about Charlotte Flair. It was supposed to be about one woman, me. It was supposed to be my time. Somehow I have been made an afterthought. And you think that after a few nights of praise that's all going to change. Well, no, I don't buy it anymore. Because you're a generation of all talk, all opinions, and no action. And come SummerSlam, I had enough of the opinions, and I decided to take action. Because that referee slapping the mat for the third time was like someone counting me out of a trance. I have never seen anything more clearly in my life. I knew in that moment that my so-called best friend had been holding me back. I knew in that moment that Charlotte Flair had stolen my spotlight and my opportunity for the last time. I knew in that moment that I was going to raise her hand up and rip her head off. Because this was supposed to be my time, my opportunity, my turn to be champion. And not because any of you decide that Becky Lynch finally deserves it. No, because I say I deserve it. Because I say that I'm the best, and there is not a woman on this roster or a person in this arena or any of you watching at home that can tell me different.
Boy. Mic drop. Where'd you pull that out of?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, years of being in the back and waiting my turn and not getting it, and constantly feeling like I was right there, and then I get taken off TV, and right there, and then taken off TV, and so it constantly felt like that. And I didn't want to go to the audience that night, but they really wanted me to. But I said to them, well, when Charlotte beat me, you all stood up and cheered a new champion. And when I said that, I could feel yeah, we did. I'm sorry. And I felt like there's no way healing on them right now is going to work. No way. I did it only a little bit, but I knew that it wasn't going to work.
So you're going to have killer matches at Hell in a Cell and Evolution. Did you feel like you were in the zone there as a performer?
Yes. Yeah. It was when I stopped thinking as much about the things that were, what's the next move and what are we doing next and what's the next spot, and just started being in it, feeling it more, and listening to the audience more, feeling the crowd and the energy, and knowing what. That was when things shifted a lot for me.
Where was the pressure then? Because you say you really feel no pressure now as to when you were
Not that
starting.
I feel no pressure
Well,
now.
no pressure, you know.
Yeah. But
yeah.
it's less. Yeah.
But was there any pressure on you at that time when you started riding that wave of steam and momentum?
So at that time,
Because the stakes start getting higher.
yeah, at that time there was a lot of pressure, but I was really enjoying it. You know, I was really enjoying it. I was feeling the crowd, and the crowd were there behind me, and there was lots of "We want Becky" chants throughout the show. So when I went out there, I was in my zone. I had a lot of swagger. I was really feeling it, really enjoying every second of it.
When did you feel like you turned into, you blow smoke up your own ass, but you felt a lights out promo? You've always had a way with words, but you really started making those words bite and have effect.
Once they gave me the mic. And I had a message to say, and I could speak from the heart. That's when it all started to click, especially on the microphone.
So did you have a come to Jesus meeting with Vince, and he says, well, we never really got a chance to hear you talk. You're really good at it.
No.
We're going to give you more opportunities.
No. I think they just gave me opportunities, and I made the most of them. But what I would also do as well, which I think is something that endeared people to me, and I don't think people always know this part of the story, was whenever I was not on TV, which was often, I would do backstage interviews and backstage promos to get them on digital or on social media or whatever, just so that people heard my voice, so that people cared about me.
Was that the quinoa stuff?
That was some of that stuff. Was
Some of that
quinoa
stuff,
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was. I was just throwing anything at the wall, see what sticks.
The power of the promo is a very interesting thing.
100. Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's how people know how to feel about you, about the story, about the other person. It's great. I love it. It's probably my favorite thing about this.
Is it?
Is it? I love it. Yes, it is. I love it.
Are you constantly thinking about promos?
Yes. And I'm constantly cutting promos in my head.
You ever write anything down?
Yes. Yeah. I write them on my phone.
How much time do you spend doing this?
A lot of time. And then, but lines will hit me here and there, and I'll write.
It's almost like writing a song, because sometimes you'll hear this country music singer, I was at Waffle House and he wrote a song on a napkin in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But if you don't write it down, you forget it.
Yes.
Because I used to have glimpses of this out of whatever, and I just jot a little sentence down.
That was one of the things. Do you remember? Was it I text you not too long ago to say? Did you only say Austin 316 in one promo? And that's crazy. You only said that in one promo.
Yeah.
And then it's blown up. Because sometimes when we have a line that sticks, we tend to go back to it all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. And it's crazy you just said it once. Anyway, I do. I write them down. And then, when it comes to, we get promos written for us on whenever, and then I look at it and, well, how can I change it? What is it that I want to say? What am I feeling? What am I feeling right now? What do I want the audience to know?
And you got the leeway to do that?
Yeah.
Because not everybody does.
I do, but then sometimes it'll be, well, no, actually, they want you to say this line or that line. And so sometimes when you hear a line that sounds like it's out of place, it's often out of place.
All right, so you're really in the zone as a performer, but I want to play some footage from what I feel is one of the defining moments, well, probably the defining moment of your career on Monday Night Raw on the Road to Survivor Series. And this is about when you really make a big change and a statement into who and what Becky Lynch is. All right, action in the ring. It's a melee. Nia Jax with a big right cross. And man, that thing connected. I mean, that was a solid shot.
Yeah.
In the moment, I mean, did she flash you? I mean, because you're concussed.
Concussed out of my mind. Yeah.
Man, you got the swagger, carrying the chair around, blood streaming from your face, your cheekbones, up into the crowd, and they're capturing it all. And you played it magnificently. That pose right there, I mean, what else do you do? I mean, that was shot around. She's looking, hey, man, this chick is bad. Look at that shot there.
It's a great shot. It's a great
Okay.
shot. Yeah, I had no
Bring
idea
it up.
what's
There
going
it
on.
is. I want to go to Steele here. Okay, let's go back through this because this said, hey, man, this is a bad chick.
That was one of those things because it was a last minute call because we had just finished a European tour and we and as we were getting on our flight to come back to the USA, we were told that we were needed in Kansas City. I believe this is Kansas City, Missouri, and so we had to get on a charter. So we only showed up right as the show was already on. And so, nobody had time to figure out what we were all doing and these were the spots. And yeah, I went out there and I turned Nia around, started beating on her. She hit me with that one punch. I went down and I didn't know I was on autopilot after that.
Good thing you didn't wipe too much of the blood off.
Yeah.
Because that would have killed that whole gimmick. So here's the thing. So, like, Nia Jax hits you. It's an accident. She's a powerful woman. You take the shot. When all the smoke is cleared, I mean, initially you think, God dang, why'd she hit me so hard? But, in reality, it's like, hey, thank you very much.
Thanks very much
Because,
for the
God
hit.
dang, you talk about I was on the way to getting there, and we just took a rocket ship, and now we're there.
Yeah, she sent me flowers, but I should have sent her flowers actually. Yeah, it was after that there was an iconic image to go with the man.
So, what did you feel that boost?
You... It's an interesting question because I actually, in hindsight, and not actually even in hindsight, feeling it, felt like it was better on the run up to that. Because after that, because then I was a heel, right? And so I was still being booked as a heel, even though I was a massive babyface. And there was a lot of freedom in that. And there was a lot of, I wasn't expected to show much vulnerability. And with the man character, vulnerability was a little bit hard. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't be vulnerable when you're, you always have to show vulnerability. But in this stage, it just wasn't essential. And then after that, things started to get a little bit convoluted. But obviously it catapulted me to a different stratosphere. But I'm talking about the feeling and all of that. I felt better on the run up to that than the run after that.
Really?
Yeah.
So then, when was the man?
And I think that was probably because I was a heel, and so there was an element of freedom in that afterwards when I was a baby face, because after this I was a baby face, then I think I didn't feel as much freedom as I did on the run up.
But what was just the creation of the man?
The man was a chit chat between me and a friend of mine at the time. I would text him back and forth, and whenever I was nervous, he'd be like, "You the man?" So then I'd say, well, "I'm the man," get that in my head. And then he was like, "I think you should call yourself the man." So I started calling myself the man. And then I put it out in one Instagram post, and it took off. There was signs the next Monday or Tuesday at the time, saying Becky Lynch is the man, and that was it.
And that really took off. When you became the man, did you then feel like, man, that this is where I'm at? I know exactly who and what I am, and this is to whoever's point it was earlier. Who
John
are you?
Cena.
John Cena.
And then John Cena came up to me and was like, "You did what a lot of people don't do. You figured it out." I was like, "How do you mean?" He's like, "You're the man. Now I know who you are."
Isn't it nice to hear that from a peer?
Oh, so nice.
And someone you
So
respect.
nice. Yeah,
who had a great run.
Yeah, but I also, because when he was saying it to me the whole time, I was like, they know who I am. I know who I am, but I didn't know who I was. And when he said that, I was like, this is the difference. I feel it.
Good.
I feel the difference. I know who I am. They know who I am. We all know who I am. I'm the man. And
It
so,
sets a boundary.
yeah.
So WrestleMania 35 is on the horizon now. You're going to get an opportunity to work with Ronda Rousey in the build-up to 35. And, Ronda's coming from an MMA background, highly successful in the UFC, big fan of sports entertainment, and all of a sudden you're doing business with her. How was she to interact with?
So it's crazy because Rhonda, obviously she hadn't much experience in this, but she took to it like a duck to water. When I talk about me not having the athletic ability, she 100% had the athletic ability, and was a natural in this. I wasn't a natural, but I think that was the cool thing. That was the difference between us, was that I was all grit and heart, and she was all natural titanium, freaking athletic, strong as an ox. And so that juxtaposition really is what made a good story, because I was the everyman, if you will. I was the man, but I was also somebody that people could relate to. Whereas you can't really relate to somebody who's been, a champion the world over, natural born killer, freaking in the Olympics, nonstop, her whole life. She was, and so, but it was great. Her name was helped us get to the main event of WrestleMania 35.
And tell me about what were you thinking when all of a sudden you find out that y'all are going to be the main event at WrestleMania 35?
Well, yeah,
Because you didn't know that going into it, did you?
I didn't know that, but
Or for sure?
I didn't know that for sure, but
It could be.
I wanted to make sure that there was no way that this wasn't the main event. And not because we were women, but because this was the story that people were interested in. And maybe that's what the pressure was, when I talk about how I didn't enjoy it as much afterwards, because I was so focused on people still need to care about me 4 months later going into WrestleMania, because this needs to be the main event. I have to main event WrestleMania. There's no way I'm not main eventing WrestleMania this year. And so that was a lot of pressure too.
Let's take it to the match. There she is. The man. Here she is, the man. I like that. All right. Good luck here. Good luck. Confident swagger. What do you think when you go to the ring? Because I love to ask people, because I've been there. So what are you thinking?
Yeah, I was enjoying this.
Yeah.
I remember the whole day, everybody, before, people were like, look, just soak it in. Just soak it in. And so I was making sure that I soaked it in. And I really was.
Drop kick, hell of a bump by Ronda.
Yeah.
She'd had no choice on that one. Okay, here we go. The moonsault. Onto a knee, into a disarmer. Right by the rope. Here comes Ronda. A couple of knees to the rib. Over, and god dang, I don't know what that was, but it was something. Looked like she's going for the arm. She's got the arm. Here she goes. Sit back. You got it. She always positioned herself. How about a big knee? Pow! See you later. Okay, here she is. Charges the corner. Boom! Turnbuckle. Okay, here we are. On the turnbuckle. Trap. Just break her arm. Just go ahead and break her arm. Ronda selling. She's in bad. Oh. Little super kick action for Charlotte from the apron. Figure 8. Charlotte with Ronda Rousey. Oh, see you later. From the top turnbuckle. Another rolling World McGregor. I don't know what you call that, but she just did it. Coming up, strong. Come on, Ronda. There you go. Okay, man. Okay, but it ends up. She's trying to throw you. Ends up into a pin. 3 count. 1, 2, 3. She can't believe it, but it's true. It just happened. We saw it. The referee counted to 3. Becky Two Belts is born.
Becky Two Belts.
Did you come up with
Becky
that?
Two Belts. A friend of mine came up with that. That was like 1 a.m., right? At that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a long show. And my brother and my dad were in the front row. And yeah, I remember looking for them and looking for my ma as well.
Could you ever find them? Because, man, I only had 2 big shows where some of my family came, and you can't find them.
My brother and my dad were right at the front, so I was able to go over
got a
there.
connection?
Yeah, give them a big hug right after. But my mom, she never made it down, so I was looking all over for her.
Man, when you get them that late, because the crowd was into it, but I mean, when you get them that tired, they just have nothing left.
They had watched nearly 9 hours of wrestling, I think, at that point. That's a tough spot, but they were still there. They were still.
This still, here you are facing an incredible crowd. You got the 2 belts in your hand, Raw and SmackDown Women's Champions. So, top of the world, what are you thinking? What the
Yeah. What's next?
Yeah, this is
I
cool.
think that's the thing is
Right.
you go, oh, that's so cool. What's next? And it's get up at 5 a.m. for media the next morning and then on to Raw. But you're always, so now you're going, wow, hell, how do I keep that? How do I maintain that? What's next?
And, you know, it's chase and chase, and you had 1 belt, and then all of a sudden you've got this. It's double duty, you know, for all practical purposes. And now it's like, now you're not chasing, you're it. So what did you do to maintain the momentum? Because, like I said, chasing is one thing, the ride is, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, man, just go do it.
Yeah.
What changes?
What you're no longer climbing the mountain. You're on top of the mountain looking out. But now you can fall off the mountain. And so you're trying to hold on to the mountain, you know, and there's a blizzard coming, and then there's a tornado, and you're trying to dodge it, and you're just constantly trying to hold on to your place at the top of the mountain.
Right.
Then the pressure started to get to me because I was at the top, and I was feeling like I'm not having these great feuds that I want to have.
Right.
To go from the main event of WrestleMania against Ronda Rousey and Charlotte, the people we knew, to now I have to build this new competitor. How do I do that?
It shouldn't have been your job.
It
Talking booking.
Yeah,
I mean,
It shouldn't have been my job, but it was my job. And so
Right.
that was the job.
But also, I mean, that's also a really delicate position, a double champ, even a single champ. I mean, you're trying to make people, but also, I mean, you know, you have to be to a certain standard of toughness or the people will just stop believing in you. And you're not going to go into business for yourself, but you have to protect yourself if sometimes booking doesn't.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, and if you ain't, I mean, come on, you ain't going to last very long.
Yeah. But I think there's smart ways to do that. I think there's a way to make sure that you can keep yourself strong and not hurt the other person too.
Well, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's a way to do business, but it is a delicate balance.
I'm not too big for my britches. So.
I love how you always say, I'm not too big for my britches. I'm not too, you haven't forgotten where you come from. You know you're working for the company, you're doing great things, but I'm just letting you know, I'm not too big for my britches. Right, they get that, right?
Yeah. I mean, look, at the end of the day, it's an art, right? It's an art, and it's an art that I love, and it's the art of storytelling, and it's, you know, an art that's as old as time, and I love doing it, and I just want to do it to the best of my ability.
And at the end of the day, it's a working relationship.
Yes.
Work.
Yes.
And to Triple H's song, The Game. It's a game.
God, it's so
And how you
funny.
play it.
It's so funny. I went in my first day in NXT and I saw Tyson Kidd, TJ Wilson, who, by the way, produces a lot of the women's matches. One of the greatest minds in this industry. And I've known him since I was on the Independent, since I was 18 years old. And he was, you know, he's been up on the main roster. And I went up to him and I was like, TJ, do you have any advice for me? He was like, yeah, listen to Triple H's song. And that always sticks in my head. But man, TJ, what an asset to the business. I just got to shout him out for a second. Because
I'm glad
he's
because I've heard a
incredible.
lot of people say that. I used to trade some phone calls with him when he kind of had some issues with his neck.
Yeah.
And so I used to trade from a good guy.
Great
super
guy, great human, really just such an asset. He's like the secret sauce in a lot of these
Hey, I
things.
want you to do. Hey, let's go check with TJ. Yeah. You're going to become the longest reigning Raw Women's Champion. Your thoughts on that accomplishment? Pretty good ride.
Yeah, it's hard as a babyface to stay champion that long.
Damn right.
It is. And so I had actually pitched to lose at WrestleMania 36 because it is hard to stay as a champion for that long. And as a babyface, I think I'm pretty good in the chase, but we didn't go that direction. So yeah, I ended up holding it for 398 days or 99 days.
All good things must come to an end. You're going to relinquish your Raw Women's Championship due to your pregnancy.
Yes.
You're at the hottest point in your career, at the highest level. How hard was it for you to walk away?
Oh, it was hard, man, because I was walking away from my life, right? My life as I knew it. And I will say it was made slightly easier by the fact that there was no audience. And so when you're missing that audience, you felt that you're
Kidding me?
you're missing a scene partner, and that's what makes our job so exciting, is that instant feedback. And so that did make it easier, but I didn't know how I was going to be being out without it, because I knew what I was like for 7 years without it. Obviously this was different because I was going into having a new life, and I knew that the door was open for me if I wanted to come back. But what if I can't come back? What if I feel differently? There was so many questions.
But how hard was it to make the decision, or what was the decision, or how hard was it? But what was the decision when you just said, hey, let's start a family?
Well, so, I mean, that was always the goal, but I didn't know that it would happen so quickly. But then there was a 316 day, and I ended up getting really drunk on TV. And then anyway, 9 months later, I had a baby. So, but you know, you never know when you've got this job and you're beating your body up. You don't know how long things are going to take. And anyway, so it happened sooner than I would have thought and would have expected. But yeah, it's been the best thing ever.
But was the plan always to come back?
The plan was mostly to come back, but there was always like, well, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if you're going to want to come back. You don't know if your body's going to be able to allow you. But sure enough, I came back. Although I actually came back later than I thought I was. I thought I was going to come back at WrestleMania 37.
Did you watch every single episode to see what everybody was doing?
Yes, yeah.
You're pretty much a student of the game. You're
Yeah.
not very lazy. Yeah.
But also, that was hard, you know. It was hard in the beginning. In the beginning, I might have tried to skip an episode or two. I don't even know if I did, but because I'd feel that, you know, I want to be doing it. If I'd see something done really well, I wish I was doing that. If I saw something done not so well, I'd be like, I should be doing it. You know. So it was hard on me to be without it.
Were you worried about losing your spot, or if it would be there when you returned? Could you return to where you were? Well, obviously you did, but going back to the day, were you like, what if they don't like me anymore?
Yeah. What if they forget
Out of
about
sight, out of mind.
Yes, yeah. So it was a weird gamble because I went off social media and I barely post or anything like that, which was also very nice. But I wanted to kind of stay out of people's minds so that when I came back, I'd get a bigger pop. You know, because I didn't want to constantly be reminding people of my presence. I kind of wanted to go away so that when I came back, there was the mystique of, well, where have I been? What have I done? And so I tried to do that. I mean, I post little teasers here and there to make sure nobody completely forgot about me. But yeah, was I worried about losing my spot? Yes. Was I worried I'd lose a step? Yes. Am I also a glutton for punishment and like making things a little bit harder for myself? Yes. I love a challenge. Give me a challenge. Tell me I can't do something.
But did you miss? I mean, the crowd is everything, right?
Oh, the crowd's everything.
You
But
form a relationship, and then the adulation. Did you miss that?
Of course,
The
but
adrenaline when they.
Of course, but that's what also made it easier because they weren't there.
Right.
Nobody would have predicted that they would have been gone for nearly a year and a half. And sure enough, I came back right at the right time.
You started posting a few workouts on Instagram,
Yeah.
and so you were pregnant.
Oh, yeah.
You worked out for
I worked at the whole time.
whole term.
Yeah.
There you are,
There I am.
crushing it. How far along were you here?
I think I was 7 or 8 months, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you have your baby. She's born on December 4th. Her name is Rue.
Yeah.
She's Sagittarius.
Sagittarius. Yeah.
Well, I'm not into the horoscope thing, but when I saw that she was born on December 4th, I figured, hey man, fellow Sag, I got to see what's up. Has Seth been a great dad?
Oh, he's just the best.
Mama's girl, daddy's girl.
Best. She's kind of both.
Yeah.
God, I don't know. Yeah. I mean, he's under the thumb for sure. Yeah. She's got him wrapped around her little finger already.
So when you left, we saw each other at 316, and
Yep.
then that was right when the pandemic started.
Right when the pandemic
Okay.
started. First show with no crowd.
First show. Looking back, with you being gone during a lot of the pandemic stuff, do you think that helped preserve your character?
Yes.
Was it a blessing
Yes.
in disguise? I mean, none
Yeah.
of this has been a blessing. It's been a shit show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but definitely a blessing in disguise because God, I guess I don't know what would have happened. We wouldn't have any audience to go off, obviously, except the online audience, and sometimes that can be different than the audience in the arena. So yeah, it would have been tricky.
You're a great promo, and you have a way with words. You're very articulate and eloquent. You know, I got a pretty good promo, but man, on that day, man, working with an empty arena, extremely hard.
Extremely hard. The one thing that I will say is sometimes there's some people that I think flourished in that.
They did.
Yeah, and Roman being one of those. It gave him an opportunity to cut those quiet promos that were more intimate, and I think that really worked for his character. And then Seth as well turned into a maniac, and
Yeah.
his promos were full of different nuances. Sometimes when you're cutting a promo, it becomes an interactive thing. So sometimes the story can get a little bit lost along the way.
But you, like me, we're crowd people. I mean, we love live crowd, and you feed off that energy. But going back to Seth, as he thrived on that and kind of came into his own, he said that you were a big influence on the loud suits that he started wearing. Because he just kind of wanted to just go out there, and he said no. He goes, Becky, and said, no, you got to go this way.
Yeah, well, we're always talking shop, you
Yeah.
know, and so God, I can't even remember what I said, but clearly I did something.
When you're so in the business and you're on a bus, you have your baby Rue with you, and you're so entrenched in it, when can you turn the wrestling business off and just be Seth and Becky?
But I think it's one of those things where you don't try to do either. You know,
Right.
you're not like, we're talking about wrestling too much
Oh, yeah.
because we love wrestling,
Yeah.
you know? So you love talking
And it's your
shop.
livelihood.
Yeah, and so you love talking shop. How can we make the business better? How can we make the story better? How can we make ourselves better? And so you're constantly talking about it, constantly thinking about it. And it doesn't seem like, we're boring each other. I'm sick of talking about wrestling because you love it.
Yeah.
You love it. And so I think we've got a good balance and mix of. and then
Sometimes when you ride down the road with a crew of guys in a car, because you're all riding together because you can't afford gas, you're booking the territory. You and Seth ever booked the territory?
Oh, of course. We have that territory booked for years. Yeah, I think that's one of the fun things, you know, and it's constantly like we get our creative on whatever. And then we're like, well, what if we did this? What if I did this? Well, I bet if you did this, well, what if I did, you know? And so we're constantly talking about how to improve it, which is great.
15 months would go by after, you had baby Rue, and you're going to make a return at SummerSlam. And let's go to some footage. And this is SummerSlam 2021, Bianca Belair, who I think has got a load of potential.
Oh, yeah.
Very athletic, very strong, good look. All right, here you are. I mean, the crowd's just eating you up.
One of the biggest stars on the planet is back. This is what Las Vegas wanted. The man is back. Becky Lynch is here. I believe Bianca's accepted the challenge from Becky Lynch. It's official, the bell rings, and here we go.
She's happy as a lark, man. This is the big time. This is as good as it gets. What a show of sportsmanship.
Of course.
What a show of oh! Right hand into, what are we going to call it, sidewalk slam?
I mean, it's rock bottom.
Rock
essentially.
bottom, yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Rock bottom. 3 count. It started, it ended.
It started and ended.
You're the champ
I'm the champ.
with a little bit of attitude.
Back to where I left off.
Okay, so what were your thoughts on the length of this match?
They wanted me to be a heel. This was the way to do it, you know? If we had
Good
a,
shot.
if we had a
That
long
picture just says superstar, by the way.
Oh, thank
Go ahead.
if we had a long back and forth match and then I beat her, I don't know that you get as much sympathy as opposed to she was just blindsided, didn't expect it, and what the hell? What the hell just happened? What the hell? What the hell? You know, and then we get people talking.
How did you feel being back?
Great. Oh, I felt so great being back. Yeah.
Now, did you want to be loved because you get that love pop because you ain't been around, and then all of a sudden you're going back to the dark side and you're gonna make them angry again?
So this is one of the things because I never made them angry in the first place, right? Because
Yeah.
we go back to that because I knew that being a heel would make me a bigger baby face.
Yeah.
I knew that that was going to be the case. Being a heel was going to be a bigger baby face. This is different because now I've been on top. Now I am on top, and I've been on top for a long time. People always want to see the person on top get chopped down, and so it's a lot easier to get people to hate me right now, and especially then if I let go of everything that they loved about me. The man moniker, just the simple dress, everything, just become a complete over-the-top, arrogant.
There's
Douchebag.
more freedom working heel, because there's less boundaries. You kind of have to fit in a little bit of a box working baby, even if you're edgy baby.
Yeah.
There's a certain box you just kind of got to stick within.
Well, there's the pressure of people liking you. People instantly want to dislike you, especially nowadays, you
Yeah.
know? So,
Hey, God dang, you guys are supposed to like me.
yeah.
So I know you love being cheered, and you live and die by that pop when you go out as a babyface. But so, which do you prefer, heel or baby? You like being loved, do you? Love to be hated?
Oh, it's so fun. It's so fun being hated. You
It
know,
is.
it's so fun being hated. It's lovely to be loved. But I think there's just so much more fun, so much more freedom in being a heel. Because you can do anything. You can do no wrong. If people like you because they love you being bad, then great. If they hate you, great. You're doing your job. But if people don't like you and they're supposed to like you, then you're not doing your job, and there's more pressure in that.
You get the big return pop, come back as a heel. Did you feel it was important to get that edge back? Like you said, due to the shortness of that match, rather than turn out a grinder when the people are going like this.
Yeah. And also, nobody knew I was coming back, so there was no time to go over any of this. I'd only really gotten told what I was doing that day. And so there was no time to put together a match, and, I'd never worked with Bianca. We ended up working that weekend and had great chemistry. But in front of 50,000 people, I think this was the best way to do it.
Now, you're going to eventually get drafted to Raw, and you're going to essentially swap titles with Charlotte Flair. Well, I want to throw to some unedited footage and get your comments on what's going on here. Play the footage. Okay, here we are. There's Charlotte. Doesn't look too happy to be there. Sonya Deville in the middle. Okay. So because y'all got drafted to different brands, you've got to swap titles. That's what's going on here. This exchange is a little, okay, title goes down on the mat. Oh, okay, that's what's happening, huh? Picks title back up. Okay, now I'm handing it to you via Sonya Deville. Okay. There you go, there's the belt. What happened?
Oh God, yeah. I mean, it should have been easy. It was supposed to be a straightforward thing where we were supposed to exchange the titles. I grab it out of her hand unknowingly. I had Becky 2 belts for a second. Then I toss her the title, and then she tells Sonya to pick it up, and then frickin' she challenges me to a fight, and I back out of it and I go. So everybody was supposed to get their moment there,
Was there heat there?
Oh yeah. There was a lot of heat there. As in, there was a lot of heat there afterwards. Because that was the way that it was supposed to be done in advance. I told some people that this isn't what's going to happen. When I try to grab it, she's going to drop it. And that's what happened. And so when all that was going on, I was just fuming. And just mostly because I knew in advance what was going to happen, and I had no way to stop it. And anyway, then I came back and we talked about going into business for yourself, and I lost the head a bit. I lost the head a lot.
Yeah, I'd heard about that. And I was like, man,
Yeah.
what is going on? So,
Yeah.
but watching that, I was
Well,
like,
because it should have just been a plain and simple, easy thing. It didn't need to be complicated. Everybody was going to get their moment.
right.
You know, I'd get my Becky Two Belts moment. She'd get the, well, bitch, you want to go? Let's go right now. And then I'd go, yeah, I don't want to go. And then would back out of there. Sasha Banks would come down and it would go into them too. But instead, it became this big thing.
Okay, with the big thing, how you guys going to roll into Survivor Series champion versus champion match? And that was a hell of a match. And there was a lot of intensity there, a lot of physicality. I mean, but it was a damn good match.
Thank you.
Damn good match. So tell me about that.
Yeah, I think that was the thing. It was, well,
You're best friends.
we were best friends, and we've got a lot of animosity going into this, and so people were excited to see us go at it, and so we went at it. And in that, capitalized on that real emotion of once being best friends and now absolutely despising each other and wanting to rip each other's heads off. And I think when you've got real emotion, you've got truth behind it, makes for an interesting story.
What was the aftermath of that? You both got to walk back through a curtain. Any word said or?
Any word said? Yeah. There was thank yous and it was civil afterwards. And afterwards there was a lot of emotion. Even actually before we went out, I started. WWE are so good at those video packages.
Yeah.
And they played us being best friends all that time, and I got really emotional because of how close we had been, and to how much we then despised each other, and it was really upsetting. It was sad. It was sad because, you know, this is.
But it's a competitive industry, and it is
Yeah,
what it is.
yeah,
And
yeah.
sometimes, you know, feelings get hurt and
Feelings get
feathers
hurt
get
and
ruffled. And,
feathers get ruffled, and
but at the end of the day, you got to look out for you,
yep.
you know. And so it is what it is. You know, a lot's been said about the four horsewomen of wrestling. All four of you done so well. So I know you're not really close with Charlotte now.
Yeah.
But how about Sasha and Bailey?
There's yeah. Lots of love and admiration for honestly for all of them, and love is quite close to hate. And I've said it about Charlotte, like maybe when we're done with this industry, maybe we'll be friends again. But right now, there's tension, there's animosity there, but there's a bond, right? With being in the stable, you came up together, and
But
we got a
y'all
lot-
changed the game.
We did change the
Y'all
game.
changed the game.
We did change the game. We're going to continue to change the game. So yeah.
Such a great picture. A lot of talent there. A lot of talent. And when you look at it, really, for future Hall of Famers, bottom line, watch. What I say will be true.
Mm-hmm.
We're right now in 2022. You're still the champ. Royal Rumble is this weekend. What can we expect and what's ahead for Becky Lynch from your vision or what you'd like to see?
I just want to continue to change the game. I've been really fortunate in this industry that I've gotten to be the first of a lot of things.
Damn right, a lot of
Yeah,
them.
a lot of things, and I'm very fortunate in that. But I think the most important thing is to not be the last, right? And so you've constantly got to make sure that the business is better than you found it, and we're definitely there. But I want to continue to do that. I want to continue to have some of the best matches of my career, which I feel like I'm having right now. I feel better than ever, and tell great stories and keep elevating myself and elevating the other women up to that level, so that it's not a big deal when we're main eventing.
How far ahead do you plan your life? How much longer do you see yourself in this business? Until someone just says, hey, you got to go.
You gotta go, gosh.
Have
I don't
you
know.
thought about that? I mean, because you're in your prime. You're in
Yeah.
your prime years.
I don't think I have to slow down anytime soon. So I think when the time's right, I'll know. Hopefully, I'll know.
But physically,
Hopefully, I'll
how you
know.
feeling?
Physically, I feel great. But I think somebody will probably tap me on the shoulder, or I will tap myself on the shoulder, hopefully, and let myself know that it's time to bow out gracefully. Hopefully, because you don't want to be going past your expiration date.
No, you
That's
don't.
for sure. But I don't think my expiration
No.
date's anytime soon.
Looking back, it's my last question. You were so many first WWE superstar on the cover of ESPN magazine. just a who's who of wrestler of the years, #1 wrestler. Did you ever think in a million years from your humble beginnings, you know, in Ireland and going through all the trials and tribulations and paying your dues that you would reach this level? Did you believe in yourself that deeply?
I did believe in myself. So it's weird because I believed in myself and I doubted myself simultaneously all
Right.
at the same time. And I think that's life. I think that's the nature of being human. But there was. So whenever I would begin to doubt myself, I would remind myself that I'm also the only person that gets to live in my head. So I can tell myself how great I am all day long and nobody will hear me. And I can dream of these things and I can imagine them. And isn't that a much more fun place to live than telling myself how awful I am? Doesn't always work, but you know, I've done both. I've doubted myself a lot and I've believed in myself a lot. And somewhere along the line, I've come up as the man. So
Hey, you
I've
are the
done
man.
well.
You're big time, Bex. You've changed the game for the women to follow you. You're setting up the table for women to follow you. You're doing everything you set out to do. So cheers. You're drinking coffee. I'm
Cheers.
drinking beer. Swig of beer and a swig of coffee to the man, big time Bex, Becky Lynch. Thank you for coming down here to the middle of nowhere. I'm Steve Austin. This is the man, Becky Lynch. It's the Broken Skull Sessions. I'll drink to that. And that's the bottom line, because I said so.